and it's tough. Like it is not easy to run a business for any startup, but especially in the food world where you have these huge behemoths like General Mills and Kellogg's, and you're trying to compete with an unlimited marketing budget. So it is tough, but in my worst day, I know that I am doing amazing things to help women. And if I can help one woman today, then it's totally worth it. And that's what I focus on. What I focus on is our mission and making sure we're fulfilling that every day.
Hi, welcome to another episode of Mom Does It All. If you're looking for encouragement, empowerment, and uplifting in motherhood and mompreneurship, this is a show for you. I'm your host, Marcia Spurk, triplet mom, woman empowerment coach, and all things motivation extraordinaire. On this episode, I talked to Melonie DeRose, founder of Empact Bars, a company that makes healthy snacks for women and that works with nonprofits that empower women and girls. She talks about the challenges of changing careers and starting a business, and also the reward that comes from following your heart and helping people. Such a great conversation. Let's get right to it.
Hi, Melonie. Thank you so much for joining me today.
You are so amazing for having me on. I am super humbled to be here. I loved meeting you and I'm excited. So thank you.
Yay. So a little background. I met Melonie at an in-person event here in Denver, Women of Denver, actually. And she was part of a panel discussing different topics about business and things like that. And as soon as she started talking, I was like, I have to talk to her afterwards and invite her to be on my podcast. Not only because of the amazing business that you've developed, the name of your business, the mission of your business, but everything that you said about the internal conflicts with, having a different job beforehand and then changing careers and combining that with motherhood. I just resonated with everything that you said so much that I had to have you on. So starting from the beginning, your background and then why you switched gears and all the things.
Yeah, let me start. And thank you for that. I feel like we connected as well. I've got 3 kids, though not triplets. They're at least spaced out. I don't know how you do it. But, for women, I think, especially for moms and for all women, it's just we face some unique challenges in business. And I've been trying to be really transparent about those challenges and educate people because I feel like when I was going through business, when I started my career, I didn't necessarily have that. I had some great mentors that were kind of confined to my business, which I like to call myself a recovering, in quotes, lawyer, because I was a corporate and securities attorney. That's sort of how I started my career and worked at a big law firm. And it was a great job. But it was a challenge. It was a challenge having children while trying to maintain any kind of lifestyle in a job like that. That's very demanding. It was a challenge just being married and making sure I had time for my spouse, who was also another lawyer at a competing firm, actually.
Oh, dear.
Interesting. These are in different areas of law. He was general litigation. I was corporate security. So, I was lost a little bit. I like to tell people that I felt like I was on autopilot. I just kind of got up and got through the day, and I did not feel inspired. It was a great job. I don't want anyone to think I'm hating on the job. Plus, it would be difficult for me to accept after all of the dollars and the education that I got to get me there, right? But it was a great job, but I just wasn't passionate about it. And I kind of found myself working these crazy hours at the law firm and not feeling inspired about what I was doing. I had this mission, this personal mission of helping other women and empowering other women. And there's not a lot of room in any legal profession for doing a bunch of pro bono work. I mean, at least when you're in a big law firm environment, it's tough. So that kind of was not being fulfilled. That desire in me was not being fulfilled. I also had my first daughter at the law firm. And I remember one day she chased me out. I was leaving my house. I was running out of the house. She was really young. And she chased me out of the house and she was screaming like, "Mom, just please don't leave. Please don't leave." And I was so focused on, oh my God, I got to get to the office because I have a conference call this morning, that I pulled the car out of the driveway and just left her bawling in the driveway. And it just crushed me. I mean, in reflecting in that moment right now, being 5 minutes late to that call would have been worth comforting her. But in my mind, I was like, I just got to go. It's going to be worse. My husband was kind of taking care of her at the moment because he didn't have a crazy fire to deal with that morning. But there were a lot of moments like that where it really kind of shifted my perspective and made me go, what am I doing? And then on top of that, after I had her, you're a mom of 3, you'll appreciate this. When I left the hospital, like nobody told me I was still going to look pregnant, right? This is my first daughter. I had like packed up all my maternity clothes in the attic, and I was all excited to get out of them. And then I got home and like bawling, I get that box back out because I'm like, I can't fit in anything. I still, look 6 months pregnant. I was not prepared for that. And the kind of bouncing back after having my first child was difficult. She had some problems. I had some medical issues, and it all turned out fine, but it was a long road. So fast forward a few months, and I'm trying to find a fitness solution as a new mom, juggling a full-time and then some job and a baby. And there really wasn't anything out there. And so after a while, the synergy of not being able to fulfill my passion of helping other women, of trying to find a fitness solution that wasn't out there, and just, hearing over and over from my friends at the law firm and elsewhere that they were sort of in the same state as me, which is lost, not having a passion in life, kind of on autopilot. I ended up launching a health and fitness company for women. So my first kind of business outside of the law firm was this company that was dedicated to helping women be better versions of themselves. And it was in-home fitness videos. And I was not the star. We hired somebody. But anyhow, after a while, I started getting really well-versed in nutrition and fitness because I had the fitness component with these videos, but our customers were really interested in nutrition. I started learning a lot about nutrition. I started paying attention to the snack foods that we were giving our kids, which as a mom, you might relate to this, but I would go into my pantry, even now, and I'm looking at some of the food in there and I'm like, what am I feeding my kids, And also just finding healthy food for me. And so I found myself walking down the protein bar aisle of the grocery store one day being like, God, I just want a healthy snack that's for women that doesn't have 50 grams of protein and a bunch of calories and all this sugar. And I cannot find anything that was made for me. And it was kind of like this light bulb went on that was like, you know what? I need to do something about this. We need to create something like that food for women who are in my situation. And so that kind of led to the development of our snack food company. So we landed on the name Empact, which, was not an accident. The EM stands for, so it's Impact with an E. The EM stands for empowering women and girls, and the PACT is helping them have an impact on their families and communities. And for me, it was really important at this stage of my life. I'm like, I'm going to go all in on this business, but it has to fulfill this personal mission I have of helping other women. So how are we going to do that? So ironically, we tried to find like a big partner. My first idea was, let's go give vitamins to pregnant women who are impoverished and can't afford them, So we tried to find a company to do that. I got a lot of companies that said, yeah, we'll put you on your website if you give us $25,000. And I was that doesn't sound like a great thing for me to do. I'd rather take that $25,000 and go give it to women who need it.
Right.
So we decided to take a really hands-on approach. So we work with various nonprofits that help empower women and girls. And we've done different projects, but our goal is to really be hands-on. So that might mean partnering with a nonprofit that helps underemployed and impoverished women transition to full-time work. And then we're actually putting them to work, helping put the boxes together and putting the bars in the boxes or prepping them for Amazon. It might mean having a huge retail project and bringing in refugee women that are under a nonprofit here and letting them help us with that project because they need temporary work because they're refugees and they're trying to get full-time work, but there's a lag time. So it might mean doing a confidence program for girls that have bounced around in the foster care. So we do this in a lot of different ways. And it's tough. Like it is not easy to run a business for any startup, but especially in the food world where you have these huge behemoths like General Mills and Kellogg's, and you're trying to compete with an unlimited marketing budget. So it is tough. But in my worst day, I know that I am doing amazing things to help women. And if I can help one woman today, then it's totally worth it. And that's what I focus on. What I focus on is our mission and making sure we're fulfilling that every day.
Oh my goodness. I love that so much. And you packed it all so nicely, but now let's break it down a little bit. So you employ these specific women, to empower these women with the jobs, while the bars are actually directed towards women too. So it's all about the women. And I absolutely love that because that's so close to my heart too. And just the name as well, it has to do with empowerment. It's just amazing. And can you tell us more about the bars and what you have, the different kinds?
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. So all of our products are developed for women. And I get the question, first of all, let me back up. If men eat them, they're not going to grow boobs. Like that is the number one question I get when I am sampling out bars in the grocery store is a guy will come up and say, will this make me grow boobs? And I'm like, man, if I had figured that out, like a lot of men would love me. I would own an island, right? I mean, there's no hormones or anything like that. We just develop, we start with a focus group and it's usually me going, what do I want in a snack? This is how the bar started. You know, we want like 150 calories. We don't want a lot of sugar. I want a protein, a really high quality protein. I don't need 50 grams. Like my husband and I snack differently. You know, he can really care less about the taste of a lot of the food he eats. He just wants to consume calories and protein because he's working out. My motto and our company's motto is snacking is not one size fits all. So everything we do is based on feedback for women. Okay. We focus group women and we focus group thousands of women to get to the kind of the macronutrient profile and the nutrition panel of our bars. Also the flavors. I mean, I'm not trying to generalize here, but women care more about taste than men is sort of what I've found. So it has to taste good. That's kind of the basic obvious premise, right? So we try to, I think we succeed in developing snacks that are good for you, but are guilt-free. So they taste kind of like a dessert, but you don't have all of the sugar and the artificial ingredients and the preservatives that are in most of those dessert-like foods out there. So that's kind of what we do. So we've got 5 protein and energy bars. They're all unique flavors. Probably the best flavor is peanut butter party. Everybody likes peanut butter chocolate chip. You know, we've got prebiotics in all of our bars and also probiotics in a couple of them because women have told us, hey, and I had this problem too. Like when I would eat high protein foods, that it would cause me gut issues, you know, and there were a lot of women out there that said, God, I have this digestive issues or even just bloating. Like I'll eat drink a protein shake, eat a bar, and I'll feel really bloated. So we're trying to address all of those things. And then in addition to the bars, we're coming out with a 0 sugar vanilla cinnamon shake, which I'm so excited about. It's amazing. It's plant-based. It's incredibly tasting. It's unlike any other plant-based shake I've tried, and I've tried all of them because literally one day I sat and tested probably 100 of them, trying to find one I thought tasted good, and I couldn't. So that's why we were like, we need to make one that tastes good. And then we've got a collagen bar coming out too, because, you know, not to be vain, but as I age, I'm like, man, hair, skin, and nails is a huge deal to me. So, and I know other women are focused on that. So that's kind of how we develop our products. We look at the things that are really important to women, what they want in snack food and what they focus on. And that's how we come up with what we're doing.
I love that. And I've tried 2 different flavors. I think it was the coconut and maybe raspberry. I don't know if I'm
chocolate cherry, probably.
Chocolate cherry, yes. And they are delicious. And is it something that you recommend for like post-workout or is just snack whenever?
Yes. So I am somebody who usually needs to eat 2 hours before a workout and cannot eat right after. Our bars are an exception because we use really high quality protein. You can buy really cheap bars that have really crappy protein that has a lot of lactose in it and it makes you feel bloated, and I just can't handle those bars. So they're great pre and post workout. They're also great, 1 for a snack, 2 for a meal. I eat 2 of them in the morning for breakfast, and that's my breakfast food. I really struggle finding a good breakfast as a woman. I don't love yogurt, you know, and if you don't eat yogurt and you really don't want the carbs from cereal, like you're not left with a whole bunch of options if you're on the go, because it's hard for me to cook eggs every day. So the bars are a great alternative to that, or I'll break them up and put them over oatmeal so that I get protein with my oatmeal. And one thing I just want to mention on that is most of us leave the house in the morning having really exceeded our recommended sugar intake for the day, because you're actually not supposed to get near as much sugar as we eat. This is a problem kind of in our whole society. But as a woman, it's hard for me to get the recommended protein count. So on average, the CDC recommends that women get 46 grams of protein a day. Now that is different if you're pregnant or if you're nursing, or in my case, I'm trying to build some muscle. So my recommended recommended is more like 80. And for me to get 80 grams of protein, like it is a challenge.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to find a good quality source of protein, and then I need to be eating it at every meal. Otherwise, there's no way I'm going to hit. Even 45 grams is difficult if you're not consuming it at every meal.
Nice. Oh, I love that. And I usually leave this for the end, but since we're talking about the bars, you can find them on Amazon. What's the best way to try this out?
You can find them on Amazon. The best way is on our website, impactbars.com.
Okay.
And I'm happy to give a discount to your viewers. We can talk after and I'll give you a link and we can go from there. But
sounds great.
Yeah, it's Empact with an E. So impactbars.com, or you can find us on Amazon. Either way is great.
Okay, I'll put all the information in the show notes, but I do want to go back to the business side of things and also talk about how you felt in this whole process as a mom, since you mentioned that in the beginning with your previous career, because one of the things that called my attention a lot when you were speaking at the event of Women of Denver was the whole personal development and the ups and downs of entrepreneurship, and especially because I love how you started from the beginning saying that you tried something else and then you switched to a different thing. Yeah. And I feel like that's really important because oftentimes we get discouraged when we have to change, when we realize it's not working, and it's like, let's just give up. It's not going to work. And And most entrepreneurs go through several different phases of pivoting, of changing completely until they find something that, you know, is what lights them up and is what they want to move forward with. And that doesn't mean that they're not going to change eventually too. And accepting that part of the process is so important too. So can you tell us more about the internal work that it took with throughout the challenges?
It's a work in progress. Let me tell you. I mean, it's hard every day. That said, I wouldn't trade it for the world, because I feel like, you know, when you create a company and a brand, it's almost like another child. Like I will go into a store and see our bar on the shelf and I'm just like, that's so cool every time. It never gets old, right? So cool. So the first thing is finding your passion, which I think is hard, right? Mm-hmm. So a lot of women, I was lost. It was always there. I just didn't know it. And then I did some exercises where I really focused on the things that kind of lit me up. And I would get all of this gratification in helping other women. And I remember coaching a friend of mine through she was having a really tough situation. She was working at a different law firm, different state, and was miserable. Mm-hmm. And I coached her through her decision to quit and go do something else to fulfill her passion. Mm-hmm. I mean, to this day we talk, but it was so fulfilling for me to be able to be a voice for her and empower her to make that choice. Because I think for women, one of the hardest, and maybe for men too, but one of the hardest things we face is that jumping off point, right? It took me like forever to leave the law firm. I knew I needed to do something else, but when you're in a routine and you have a steady income and you've gone to school forever and you've had debt, you paid for this thing, you're on this trajectory. It's really hard to step out of that lane. Mm-hmm. And I think sometimes it's so hard that women don't do it and they think, oh, it's not worth the risk. Mm-hmm. My response to that is like, you know, I can always go back and practice law. Like it's there for me. Yeah. Right. But I've got one life and there's this thing over here that I love to do. So why wouldn't I try it? There, you know, and people will say, well, you know, I don't have the money or I don't have the support system or whatever. Look, there's 1,000 reasons I can give you why this is maybe not the greatest idea at this time in my life, or why throwing in a baby into the mix was, you know, not the smartest idea from a business standpoint. But actually, I argue against every single one of those. I mean, having 3 daughters is what inspires me every day to do what I'm doing. Yes. And financially, is it difficult at times? Absolutely. I mean, when you leave that security and then you're trying to figure out how to balance, you know, what cash flow is going to look like, how to get started in a very high operation costing job, it's tough. So there's a lot of challenges. And then I think the other thing that you've got to do, at least in my experience, is you have to be willing to be flexible and pivot. So as I mentioned, we started this fitness company. It was a DVD program. Like I knew that DVDs were going to phase out. They were already phasing out when we sort of started this company. And we ended up, you know, moving to a streaming platform. And we started looking at this nutrition side. And I started looking at the nutrition going, well, there's really something here. And I'm very passionate about it. Like I'm really interested in, unfortunately, I know too much, I think, about what's in the foods that we eat. And it's scary. It's honestly scary to me, the kind of food that's in our food supply and all of the artificials and the pesticides and the chemicals. I mean, all of that stuff's very scary to me. Yeah. So as I learned more, I got more passionate about it, but I had to be willing to pivot.
Mm-hmm.
If you would have asked me 5 years ago if I would be running a food company one day, I mean, I would have laughed at you. Like that was not, I don't have a background in that. No one in my family has ever done that. You know, I grew up in Texas. Like we ate barbecue and, you know, I grew up on all the snack foods that I wouldn't eat now because of what's in them. So I was kind of the anomaly in when you look at my roots and my family. But for me, it was just having that willingness to pivot because an opportunity presented itself. We were in the right place, right time. I mean, Boulder is the natural food mecca. And we honestly stumbled upon this concept and then it got legs and we ran with it. And I think you got to be willing to do that. Was it scary? Absolutely. I mean, I remember thinking like, I don't know how to make food. Like, how do you make food commercially? You know, I remember turning to our husband at one point going, we're making a commercial food product. Like, how did that happen? And it's important to get the right mentors. It's important not to reinvent the wheel. We talk to veterans in the natural food industry. If you start asking around, you'll find your way there. And as it turns out, most people are really willing to give you advice and knowledge and, you know, prevent you from making maybe the mistakes that they've made. Just like I would be overly willing to do that to a new company. And we've actually, in the last couple of weeks, we've received two calls from people who are trying to develop a bar who wanted to hear about kind of what our experiences are. And I have enough stories that I could say, here's what I would do. And here's definitely what I wouldn't do. So you got to be open to that. But, you know, I think I mentioned this at the Women of Denver talk. We self-sabotage a lot, right? So I've had all these limiting beliefs, and those are just for people who haven't done personal development work. These things that I am fearful about myself, you know, like, oh, I'm not an expert in food. How could I do this? Or, you know, if they only knew X, or, I'm so afraid I'm going to fail. Like, I think a lot of us face those emotional issues and they're a struggle every day. And I'm doing a lot of work to try to work through those. Because in the end, what I find is that is the biggest barrier. If I could get out of my own way and my own self-doubt and my own questions about things, then, you know, it just paves the way for immediate success.
Oh, and that's incredible because that's something that we hear a lot as entrepreneurs once you start getting into this, that people say, you know, you're the only one standing in your own way. And then you look at all these obstacles around you and you're like, that's not possible. Look at all these other things. But just like you said, they're all figure outable, right? If you reach out to people, if you find the right mentors, if you just ask questions and not stop yourself before you even start, you're just going to get somewhere. You're going to have to get somewhere if you don't stop. So what are some your favorite things that you do in terms of your limiting beliefs that you have done or that you continue to do to help you in this journey?
So one big thing I did is it's simple to say, it's hard to do, but it's a perspective shifting exercise. And why that, I mean, you know, I was joking with my husband about this other day. He said, you used to be the girl who would say, oh shit, every second, like something would happen and you'd go, oh shit. You were like the oh shit lady. Right. And when we first got started, we were about to launch and our manufacturer at the time left me a voicemail. It was like 2 weeks before Christmas a few years ago. And she basically fired me on a voicemail. She said, hey, we've got this other client and they view you as a competitor and we're going to move forward with them. Right. I remember just my heart sinking first of all, I was like, really, you left that in a voicemail? Like, come on. But I just remember my heart sinking when I heard that. And I thought the world was over. I was like, well, we're done. You know, that was my initial thought. My initial thought was, oh crap, we're done. And what I realized in working through an issue like that, a couple things. First of all, now when challenges happen, I believe that they happen for a reason. Because in every moment like that in our business where I thought like everything's on fire and I don't know how we're going to survive, some amazing opportunity has come out of that. So, you know, if we hadn't had that happen, we wouldn't have ended up with the manufacturer we're with now, who is perfect because we were making the bars in the way we didn't even want to make them. And it took a while, but we finally found someone who believed, you know, we were like, this is how we want to make them. We were told they couldn't be done that way several times. And we finally found someone who got on board. So it's easy now to look back and go, okay, that situation started like this domino effect of things that got us to where we are now. Now, in the moment, it felt horrible. I mean, I was so deflated. It was awful. And I was unhappy about how it happened. And, it's easy to attach a lot of thoughts to that.
Yeah.
And when that happened, I started thinking about how, they say a lot of businesses fail in the first 3 years. And I started understanding why that happens, because I think in situations like that, you have a choice. Like you choose, I'm going to persevere and we're going to get through this, or you give up. And for me, like giving up has never been an option, but changing my mindset has been the hardest thing. So we face challenges just like any other business. And there are days when I'm like, oh my God, I think I said this at the event, like I feel like a punching bag, like it can't get any worse, right? And then it gets worse and you're like, oh God, it really can't get any worse. But my tip would be really just not letting those things bring you down and affect your day-to-day mental state. I feel like every day you wake up, you have a choice.
Yes.
You're going to choose happiness and drive and ambition and evolving your business and moving forward and being a good mom and a good spouse or whatever it is. Or you can wake up upset and negative and dwelling and, oh my gosh, all these things are happening to me. I can't do anything about it. And I'm not trying to dismiss really tough times in life, because there are those.
Yes.
But I think it is easy for us sometimes to wear this burden of life is so hard, right? And I have worked really hard to not have that burden anymore. Like I wake up and on my hard days, I focus on all the amazing things, my children, my husband, my health. That's such a huge thing. I think we take for granted every single day. And I get to choose, okay, this phone call stung or whatever happened, it really hurt, but I get to just move past it. Yes. So I think that is definitely one tip that I would give, 2 others. A lot of us, I think, try to shoulder a bunch of this alone, right? It's my nature to deal with struggles. I call it going in, because I don't want to burden other people. And I will try to just take that all on. And that has been a big fail of mine, just to be completely honest. Like it's hard for me to try to open up about these things and be vulnerable and authentic sometimes with other people, especially other women or mentors, because my mindset is, I don't want to burden them. But actually what I found is, number one, their advice is gold. So, it doesn't make sense to not get it. But number 2, 9 times out of 10, you're not going to burden somebody with being authentic and being vulnerable. And if you're burdening someone, they're the wrong person anyway. So don't try to shoulder it alone. It is our nature, I think, as moms, as women, we do not put ourselves first and we do not ask for help. And I think that gets to change.
Yes. Yes. Oh, I love that so much. Thank you so much for all those tips. And it's just so encouraging. It's that type of stuff that when I hear you talk, it's like, yes, I got this. I can keep going. And sometimes we can do that ourselves. And other times we need other people to lift us up. Just like you said, don't do it alone. We need each other and we can encourage each other, right? And empower each other.
Yes. Yes. All of this, like, one other thing is, there's no room in my life for women who bring other people down. Like I've just never understood that. When I was at the law firm, there were always, I think actually in other law firms, I would hear about these women who would be like, I went through hell as an associate, so you should go through hell. Ugh. Like I just never understood that mentality. For me, it's empowering and lifting other women up. Like it's, I got your back. I want to help you. If you're having a bad day, there's no judgment.
Yeah.
I really have been living this judgment-free life where I do not look at other people and judge them. I think there's so much of that, and it just breeds negativity. So for me, it is like, what can we do to help each other? Because it is so much better when you're working in a community and people have your back and you've got theirs.
Yes. And it feels a lot lighter. Yes. And it's just, why do we keep choosing the hard? It's just, it doesn't make any sense, right? Oh, I love this so much. Thank you so much, Melonie. I'm going to put all the information in the show notes so people can go taste your bars, because they are delicious and so healthy, and especially knowing all the mission and the message behind it. It makes them taste even better.
Well, thank you. That's so sweet of you to say.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Oh, no, I love it. Thank you.
What a story and what a delight of a person. I had such a great time talking to Melonie, and I hope you enjoyed listening to us. Don't forget to try these amazing bars. All the links are in the show notes. Until next time, bye.